What's going on, everyone? Happy Memorial Day to everyone. Hopefully, everyone is staying safe and healthy. If you had to take a COVID test, hopefully you tested negative. And hopefully, if you did any traveling this weekend, hopefully, if you can get a test or can afford to get a test, I fully understand if you can't afford testing. Hopefully, you can go get tested after traveling. And because we know COVID spread is going to be enormous. Later in this video, I'm actually going to give my projections where I think there could be some COVID hotspots just based on the travel that we're seeing this weekend. We have no update out of India today. We've seen this happen before on Saturday, Sunday, or even Monday. It's probably a lag. No, I don't think it's a holiday there, so I don't know. Maybe we'll get an update out of there tomorrow. Starting our first story today, it's not a real busy news day, but I found enough stuff here that makes the video worthwhile. Maine researchers, patients help shed new light on the mysteries of long COVID. A new national study tracked 10,000 patients in Maine and across the country. If you are new to my channel, maybe this is the first time you've watched one of my videos, and maybe you're coming here because you recently had COVID, you know someone who has COVID, maybe you're not feeling well, or maybe you're one of those people that COVID's still a thing. I didn't know anyone still does this. Whatever the case is, first off, subscribe down below because I try and keep you safe daily by doing these videos. Second of all, long COVID is basically when you don't fully recover from COVID. You have lingering symptoms. You have new occurring symptoms. You're just still not feeling well. You're still very sick. There's 100 to 150 to even up to 200 different symptoms of long COVID. And long COVID has been a thing since this pandemic started. I'm a long COVID sufferer myself. I'm not a severe long COVID sufferer, but I do have issues that I did not have before I had COVID, which, kind of qualifies as long COVID. Asthma. I was never an asthma person before long COVID, but here I am. I do have asthma. Sometimes, you might notice it sometimes in my videos when I have to pause or something. That's the asthma kicking in. And you might see where the video skips a little bit. That's because I've paused and the asthma is driving me bananas. So anywho, with long COVID, some people recover from COVID. Some people fully do not recover. And let's read what it says. A new published national study that involved Portland-based researchers and Maine patients is shedding new light on the mysteries of long COVID, which leaves some infected. People with a range of chronic symptoms. The research found that patients who were unvaccinated, who contracted COVID-19 before the 2021 arrival of the Omicron strain, or who were reinfected with the virus were more likely to contract long COVID-19 and have more severe symptoms. While that may be true, I gotta tell you, I don't fully agree with it because there are a lot of people I follow on Twitter, and I'm sure there's millions of others out there in this country and world that are Omicron infected long COVID, and they're really having a rough time with it. They have a loss of energy. They can't do day-to-day activities. I mean, I think it's still hitting people just as hard. Was it bad before the vaccine, before Omicron? Yes, of course, it was really bad, but I think it's still bad now. And I think we just don't know the full grasp of how bad it is because you got to remember, some people are getting COVID, not getting tested, and then still remaining sick and wondering, well, just what the heck is this? Or they're just brushing it off altogether, which is a thing. So I think long COVID is just as bad, and it's not going away until we finally get a next generation back or some other form of treatment that can better handle this. And it says here, it identified 12 core symptoms. We're not going to read through them. I mean, you have brain fog, you have taste and smell. Some people, sadly, lose the ability to walk. They have to learn how to walk again. It can advance dementia and Alzheimer's. There are just so many different things. We'd be here all day. Again, datareport.info is my website, and I have been working to make the study and papers archives more accessible. I finally gave it its own section. The ones that I already have added, I'm starting to categorize them better. So it's so easy. I want it to be as easy as possible for you to be able to go through these studies and papers so you can, get the information you need. Learn about this. Find out what you can do to get help, hopefully. Alright, I think we're going to skip this story, but we are going to read this one. As cancer drug shortages grow, some doctors are forced to ration doses or delay care. Widespread shortages of cancer drugs are forcing doctors to make difficult decisions about how to treat their patients, including rationing dosages and turning to other treatment options and potentially more side effects. As of last Wednesday, there were 15 drugs in the shortage, so this is not good. And it doesn't stop there. There are other drugs. Matter of fact, there are nearly 300 different medications that are now in short supply. Tylenol, uh, stuff that you need for cold and flu, eye drops, you name it. There are over 300 different medications in short supply. In my opinion, that classifies as an emergency, and this is something that needs to be dealt with. Again, I've said it several times here on the channel, we don't put enough effort into the medical issues in this country, and we need to. Because 300 medications in short supply, say someone's severely sick and they need that medication. Well, they can't get it because it's in short supply. Alright, COC case reveals a degrading conditions in England care home as COVID hits. So apparently there's a care home, and I'm sure it's not the only one, over in England where there are just horrible conditions. And this is something we're seeing happen all around the world. I delivered to a nursing facility not too long ago. I was utterly shocked when I walked inside. I delivered the food. It was someone who works there. A person comes, not man, or is upstairs. There's the hallway. There's upstairs, and the lady's saying, "You can just leave the food on the desk." She's maskless, coughing away in the nursing home. Come on, our seniors deserve better. And let's move on to our next story. Okay, this says, Brits warned of deadly Victorian disease raging through 17 European countries. What they're referring to is measles. And we've talked about measles a couple times. And there are now 17 countries who are reporting, European countries that are reporting issues with measles. Here's another one. Jordan reports 27 cases of measles with over 500 contacts traced so far. So this is not good, and this is something that I think should be retweeted, and we will. There you go. I want you to see that yourself. So we're seeing all these measles cases popping up. The problem with that is two things: missed vaccinations during this pandemic and immunity being destroyed by COVID infections. No update out of Walgreens today, so we won't bother showing that. We have nothing in COVID pandemic history today. We had our wastewater update video yesterday. You can check that out here on the channel if you want to. Hopefully we'll see some more of these sites update this week. Taking a look at the latest variants in the United States. XBB.1.5, 53.8%. XBB.1.16, 15.1%. XBB.1.91, 11.8%. XBB.1.92, 6.1%. XBB.2.3, 4.8%. XBB.1.16.1 is 3.9%, XBB.1.51 is 2.2%, and FD.2 is 1.5%. New Jersey, I'm shocked. They actually updated the hospitalizations today. 156 people in hospital, 5 people in a ventilator, 15 people in the ICU. And let's take a look at something here. Let's take a look at where I think COVID hotspots are going to be. And how am I going to come up with that? Let's see where the travel was big this weekend. So taking a look first at Maine. Yeah, a lot of people went to Maine because look at the Maine Turnpike and I-95. It's packed. Take a look here in New York State. A lot of people from New York City went to upstate New York. In fact, we can actually take a look at a traffic camera. Look at this. This is the New York State Thruway southbound around, I believe, Newburgh, Interstate 84, if you're familiar with the area. It's just a sea of southbound traffic going back to New York City. So some went up, now they're going back, and unfortunately, at all these places, and we can see my state too. Look at this, Pocono Mountains. Unfortunately, some of these people are going to be taking a little going home present back with them. Like, for example, the Pocono Mountains were absolutely jam-packed with people this weekend. Look at this. You can't even get on Interstate 80 because it's so crowded. And that going home present that they're taking back with them, unfortunately, is going to be COVID or influenza-like illness. And it's the same on the West Coast as well. Mind you, it's still the morning out there. But I think the Northeast as a whole is going to be a super hot spot. The I-95 corridor, we're going to see cases continue to rise. We were seeing infections starting to rise pre-pandemic, or excuse me, pre-Memorial Day weekend. It's still a pandemic. And look at this. Look at New Jersey, Garden State Parkway. And again, we don't have any wastewater sites down there. It just mind boggles me that there is no wastewater sites at the southern shore points, because look at this map. The Garden State Park is just miles and miles. And you come up here, it's just double-digit miles. Going back to New York, coming back to Philadelphia. I mean, all these people were crammed together. I should have showed over the weekend the cameras at the shore points, the boardwalks. It was just, I was like, how? How can you expose yourself to that? But it is what it is. Moving on. So yeah, the Northeast is going to be a hot spot. I think Chicago is going to be a hot spot. And we're going to have to watch the West Coast. The Pacific Northwest, wastewater, some sites there are starting to rise, and we're seeing the higher levels of XBB 116. So those are the biggest hotspots I'm going to be watching this week. Philadelphia Fire Department, 736 EMS incidents yesterday. That was close to being a high amount. Anytime over 700, that's higher than pre-pandemic. Were there 700 days before the pandemic? Yes, but not as many as there are nowadays. And I don't recall before the pandemic seeing those 800 days. Because mind you, I've been following this for many, many years prior to the pandemic. And I certainly don't recall it being this busy. But it was another busy day yesterday. Not as high as the previous day. Let's take a look in at the suburbs around Philadelphia. Here's Montgomery County. Wow, quite a few calls right now. Cardiac emergency, accident, cardiac emergency, cardiac emergency, cardiac emergency, cardiac arrest. Ooh, a lot of cardiac issues. Take a look at this. This is Chester County, Pennsylvania, loaded with issues. Stroke, sick person, sick person, sick person, respiratory difficulty. Yeah, it's a busy day. It's concerning. Taking a look at New York State, no updated info out of New York State, so I can't really give you anything there. And now let's just briefly take a look at Hub Data's COVID index. As mentioned, the hotspots I think we will see is from DC on up to Boston, again on the West Coast, again in Chicago, and slightly concerning in Florida, but not terrible just yet. And definitely, you know what, Atlanta metro area is somewhere we're going to have to watch as well. Moving on, let's take a look at some international data. We'll just take a look briefly here. South Korea, 21% decrease in cases, 10% increase in deaths. Australia, 25% decrease in cases. I think that's wrong. I'm not buying that, but because the news media there's reporting that it's actually rising. Deaths are up 14%. France, cases up 153%, deaths up 157%. And finally, what is going on in Russia? 620% increase in cases, 604% increase in deaths. That's concerning. And if you did not see this over the weekend, I did actually tweet this out. Here's the international variant proportions. India, Singapore, United States, South Korea, and Thailand are the countries with the highest amount of XBB 116. Alright, that does it for today's pandemic update. We'll have another pandemic update again tomorrow. We may also have the Walgreens tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on if they update, and it also depends on how the data comes out. If it is just super jumbled, a mess, we may skip it this week. We'll see though. Find out tomorrow. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all again tomorrow. But until I see you again next time, stay safe.